Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get to in the world of Southern California sports, such as the Chargers moving to 2-0 with a strong win over the Carolina Panthers. But now they have a big challenge as they head to the land of the Yinzers to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Can they pull off the win? And the Rams got embarrassed by those Arizona Cardinals, losing 41-10. They also lost Cooper Kupp and many others to injuries. Is this the beginning of the end for those Rams as they take on the Niners in their home debut this season? Also, USC has its Big Ten opener against Michigan for real this time. Unfortunately for UCLA, they wound up getting hammered by Indiana on national TV 41-13. Straight up disgusting right there. But how about the Galaxy pulling off an amazing comeback against LSC in El Tráfico? But then they have a little case of the El Tráfico hangover. Also, Shohei Ohtani makes this become the first 50 players to record 50 stolen bases and 50 home runs in a single season. Now, can the Dodgers translate that to a World Series championship? All that more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday morning, Friday, wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way to episode 193 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, and on TikTok. Also, please subscribe to us on YouTube, IE Sports Radio. We are trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of this month or by the end of next month. We're already a third of the way there, and with your help, we will get to 1,000 subscribers. Also, IE Sports Radio shows are available on several different social media platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, JioSaavn, the list goes on and on. And also check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our page dedicated to each podcast, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And definitely check out our merchandise shop, where you can buy some tank tops, t-shirts, hoodies for the winter, as well as cop some other IE Sports Radio merchandise. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. The way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SoCal Show IESR. And you can follow me personally on X, formerly known as Twitter, where I'm mainly active at Teran Rodriguez 1. Before we get on into the Southern California sports action, we need to give a shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. And also, we need to talk to y'all about what IE Sports Radio is all about. So without any further delay, let's get on into those sponsors and what IE Sports Radio is all about.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing sponsors and definitely check out IE Sports Radio as a whole. We appreciate our sponsors, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals for helping keep the lights on. Also, Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, as you all know, is the official sponsor of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, who actually made their way all the way to the California League Championship Finals. But unfortunately, they lost to the Modesto Nuts 2-1. And unfortunately, that third game, they got off to a pretty good start, but unfortunately just could not hold the lead. There were some defensive web gems that were pretty impressive, but unfortunately, it was to no avail. But definitely check out Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky regardless. And that's where you can order the Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. And we can't forget about Seal the Deal Wax Seals. Follow them on Instagram at @SealTheDeal_Wax Seals. And that's the link where you can order Seal the Deal Wax Seals. All right, with that being said, let's get into the Southern California sports action. So we have to talk about the Chargers just because NFL is king, and we have to start in chronological order. So the Chargers took down the Panthers by a monstrous score of 26-3. Now, I had some concerns when it came to this matchup just because the Panthers have owned the Chargers in most recent years. The last time the Chargers beat the Panthers was almost 20 years ago, back when they had LaDainian Tomlinson, Drew Brees, I think Lance Altworth. I don't think that's one of the receivers, but regardless, it's been almost 20 years since the Chargers last beat the Panthers. And thankfully the Chargers didn't really have too many problems. Obviously, this game was pretty much over by halftime. It's a miracle the Chargers didn't even beat the Panthers by much more. 26-3 was kind of the Chargers being merciful, if you ask me. I mean, the Panthers defense wasn't too terrible, but honestly, the Chargers pretty much didn't really go all out against the Panthers, and they didn't need to. So good for the Chargers. They're 2-0. They're actually 2-0 for the first time since 2012, which it's been a minute. Lots of chances for the Chargers to go 2-0, but unfortunately, teams have gotten in the way. They have gotten in their own way. So there you go. So the Chargers are 2-0. Justin Herbert didn't have the flashiest numbers, but he did have 2 touchdown passes. 2 of those touchdown passes, or both of those touchdown passes, were to Quentin Johnson. Now, if you all remember what what Chargers fans were saying, and if you all kind of know what I was saying, I was basically riding Quentin Johnson for the most part. And honestly, you also got to bear in mind, Quentin Johnson came into this game with 2 touchdown catches in his career. So he had 2 touchdown catches in his career prior to the Carolina Panthers game. And then he had 2 touchdown catches in that game alone against Carolina. So he doubled his touchdown catch output in his career as an NFL player. So good for him. And Marcus Los Great says, well, first he says, salute to you, Marcus. Thank you for popping in. And then he says, look at us, proud in a Chargers jersey. Yep, I got my Justin Herbert jersey on. And yes, and Marcus also adds the Harbaugh effect. Yeah, it's been the Harbaugh effect. I think I hate to say this regarding Anthony Lynn and Brandon Staley, but it really shows how good of a team the Chargers can be, or any team for that matter can be, when it comes to a good head coach. And I think Jim Harbaugh has really turned this team around to start. Now, it's only 2 games. We can't really we got to pump the brakes in. We got to pump the brakes a little. We can't just say, oh my God, the Chargers are 2-0. There's still 15 more games to go. So let's, not get overzealous here. Until the Chargers are basically in the playoffs, we can't pop the champagne and whatnot. And I don't know what my man Bishop was saying, but Bishop, the host of our Kansas City sports show, this is KC Sports. He says, I'm going to try to fill in that question to the best of my ability. Is Herbert playing on Sunday? We'll get to that a little bit later. If I'm wrong, then definitely let me know, Bishop. But Massachusetts Mike, the host of our Boston show, Beantown Blitz, says your Chargers are doing better than my Patriots right now, Teran. Well, first and foremost, thank you for the compliment, Mike. Second and foremost, well, I can't forget all the battle scars the Patriots have given the Chargers, but I do appreciate that. But I will say it was pretty surprising seeing the Patriots beating the Bengals in their season opener. Now, the Bengals do tend to start slow, so they get a little benefit of the doubt, but the Patriots were a massive underdog against the Bengals, and they wound up winning. So I got to salute to your team. And I know they had a tough loss yesterday against the Jets, but it's all good, and it's still a long season. So at least I hope that Drake May is able to lead y'all to the promised land or anything close to relevancy, but we'll see. And Bishop did confirm that was perfect. So thank you, Bishop. I'm glad I was able to kind of fill in the blank right there. Maybe I should be on Wheel of Fortune. Anyway, Ralph Calise also pops into the chat room, host of our Pittsburgh show, The Yins Report. He says, Teran, good evening. Have a great show. And then Massachusetts Mike says, thank you. I hope Meg comes in soon. So Ralph Calise is the host of our Pittsburgh show, The Yins Report. And you know who the Chargers face? Them Steelers. So I'm ready for this, and Ralph Calise is ready for this, and it's going to be a big-time battle. Now, the Steelers, just like the Chargers, they're 2-0. They beat the Falcons in week 1 with just field goals, which, nice work, Falcons. Way to utilize that offense that has, Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts and all those other talented players. Drake London from USC, and you put up 10 points against those guys? Oh, you're making me mad. Anyway, this isn't about the Falcons. This is about the Chargers and how they face the Steelers. So this week, the Chargers are facing the Steelers in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field. Yes, I will refer to it as Heinz Field. I don't care what anyone says. Steelers' home field is Heinz Field no matter what. Anyway, so Steelers versus Chargers. That's going to be a barn burner. The battle of two 2-0 teams. The other 2-0 versus 2-0 teams is the Vikings and Texans. But Chargers versus Steelers is going to be a banger, and this might be the most interesting and ugliest game out there. So you saw how the Steelers have played in terms they've won their 2 games. They beat the Falcons with just field goals. They kicked 6 field goals with Chris Boswell, and the defense has terrorized Kirk Cousins. And then last week against the Denver Broncos, the Steelers just straight up thrashed them. Okay, thrashed is kind of a harsh word to use because they only won 13-6, but they pretty much controlled that game with the defense. They made Bo Nix look like he was seeing ghosts, but I digress. So this week against the Steelers, it's going to be such a big-time battle. The last time these 2 teams played was on Sunday Night Football 2 seasons ago. Was it 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago? Either way, it was the year the Rams made the Super Bowl, and it was Brandon Staley's first year. And the Chargers wound up eking out a win, even though they didn't have TJ Watt, which I think would have made a difference. But this is going to be a big game for the Chargers. This is a real test for them just because they're facing one of the best defenses in the league. TJ Watt is an absolute monster. Hightower is a big-time. Yeah, Hightower got his first sack last week against Bo Nix and the Broncos. So Joe Alt, he's had to face Max Crosby of the Raiders and Jadeveon Clowney of the Panthers. And those 2 did not allow a sack on Justin Herbert, or did not get a sack on Justin Herbert. Now it's going to be really tough to try to cover TJ Watt. But honestly, this is the true test for Joe Alt. If Joe Alt can really come up big against TJ Watt and as well as Hightower, then honestly, maybe we got to consider him for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So, and Ralph Calise says Chargers Steelers is going to be a tough one. That's what's the update on Herbert, and Ralph Calise says be careful. You're underestimating a real good defense. No, I'm not underestimating any defense. TJ Watt is for real, and that Steelers defense is no joke, especially since they've held their first 2 opponents to only 16 points. And yes, Ralph Calise confirms I am not underestimating the Steelers defense. Oh, no, not by a long shot. And Mike Tomlin's a fantastic coach. Say what you want about Mike Tomlin. He's at least done something that most other coaches haven't done, and that's lead the Steelers to a winning record pretty much every year in his tenure, or at least a non-losing record in his tenure. So here's the thing about this matchup. Can the Chargers beat the Steelers on the road and move to 3-0? And will Justin Herbert be ready to play for the Chargers on Sunday? So the big thing is Justin Herbert is questionable going into this game, and Justin Herbert said that's complaining about it and wallowing and being poo-poo about it is not going to make the injury better. So I imagine he's going to do everything in his power to try to play. If for some reason he doesn't play, then the Chargers are going to have to bank on Taylor Heineke. So, oh boy, Taylor Heineke, I don't know if he was the quarterback when the Washington football team took down the Steelers back post-COVID year, but I don't know what to expect with Taylor Heineke. I don't think he played in the preseason. I think it was just all Easton Stick. So I'm hoping for all that is holy if Taylor Heineke is ready. I mean, he actually was the QB3 behind Easton Stick, but then He shot up the rankings and learned the system really well. So I'm not concerned about Taylor Heineke being the quarterback. What I am concerned is Justin Herbert, but he hasn't had to do much. I mean, the Chargers have been really run heavy, obviously with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Steelers are also kind of run heavy too with Najee Harris. And I'm blanking on the other running back's name for the Steelers, but both teams are very run heavy, and I think it's going to boil down to who holds the ball longest and which defense comes to play. And I don't think you'll see a whole lot of throwing, but Justin Fields, most likely, if he's going to play, he has been he's been solid. I feel bad that he got casted away from Chicago over to Pittsburgh. So there you have it right there. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, and I really hope Justin Herbert is able to play. I mean, the dude has played through a bunch of injuries. He played through cracked ribs. He played through a finger injury, etc., etc. The dude is tough. He's like Matthew Stafford, Jalen too. And yeah, Jalen Warren, that's his name. Thank you, Ralph. So Jalen Warren is the other running back along with Najee Harris. So yeah, that's going to be the big key, slowing down the Steelers run game, because I didn't say the Chargers did a great job of slowing down the Panthers run game. Chuba Hubbard had his way. And the Raiders, they were pretty solid as well. But here's the thing about the Chargers offense. They actually had only one first down going into halftime of that Steelers-Chargers, or not the Steelers-Chargers game, the Chargers-Raiders game. And then they eventually turned it around. So I think you can expect the Chargers to get off to a little bit of a slow start, but eventually start finding their way. The Chargers also have to cut out their silly penalties. I think they did a better job of cutting out penalties against the Panthers. Obviously, the Raiders are a much talented team, especially with how they just beat the Ravens. But I think for the Chargers, they're really going to have to show up in this game. The defense really has to be strong and whatnot. So I hope for the Chargers' sake, they're able to come up big. And the run game, J.K. Dobbins leads the NFL in rushing yards, believe it or not. He's actually the first player to run for back-to-back 130 rushing yards games since I think maybe Melvin Gordon back in 2016. So I think that signing of J.K. Dobbins is really starting to work out for the Chargers. So this one's going to be a tough one, and the offensive line really has to do a good job of blocking T.J. Watt and Hightower. So mainly T.J. Watt. That's going to be the big one right there, because T.J. Watt is someone that does not give a crap who's in front of him on that offensive line. So my final score prediction for this game, and this one's probably going to be a little far-fetched, but I got the Chargers winning 17-10. This one's obviously going to be low scoring. Some of them are even thinking that it's going to be Steelers 13, Chargers 5. Where are these people getting these scores? And someone on NFL Networks has the Steelers winning 9-8. Okay. All right. But I'm saying this partially as a Chargers fan, and because I think the Chargers offense can still put up points on the board. My thing is, can the defense hold its own? I think the defense is going to have a little bit of a tricky time against Justin Fields. I imagine they have to start Justin Fields because they cannot go with Russell Wilson. They have to go with Justin Fields. He's more shifty and youthful. I just can't see the Steelers going with Justin Fields or going away from Justin Fields, whether Russell Wilson is 100% or not. So I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. I actually was going to go like 14-9, but I think the Steelers offense is kind of woken up. I think the first week was kind of just working out the kinks and figuring out what they truly are. So week one basically is kind of like the preseason game. So if that makes any sense, it's just a game where you're just working out the kinks. So that's pretty much that for the Chargers right there. Don't want to go too deep into them, but I have the Chargers winning 17-10. I hope that's the case, because my big fear for the Chargers is that they look too far ahead to next week's game against the Chiefs, and they wind up pooping the bed. But I'm hoping for the best. I know it's going to be a great game, so we'll see what happens. Now, as for the Rams, oh gosh. This was such a horrible game if you're a Rams fan. They got blown out 41-10 in Arizona. Absolutely disgusting right there. This game was pretty much over by halftime. I was just sick to my stomach looking at this game. They literally made the Cardinals look like the 2011 Super Bowl team, or the team that made the Super Bowl in 2011, which eventually lost to the Steelers. But 41-10. The Rams only mustered up 3 points. Now, I get it. They did not have most of their offensive line. They did not have Puka Nacua. But still, this is straight up unacceptable. They made Marvin Harrison Jr. look like Larry Fitzgerald. I'm sorry, but this was just sickening right there. Matthew Stafford was just straight up pedestrian, unfortunately. I mean, I know he's nursing a hurt ankle, but still, this was just so bad. And after the game, it got worse for the Rams as they lost Cooper Kupp. So no Puka Nacua. Cooper Kupp barely avoided IR. Steve Avila and Jonah Jackson, they're on IR. Darius Williams, the starting corner for the Rams, he's on IR. I'm sure most of the Rams' starting O-line is on IR. So can this get any worse for the Rams? Oh, it even got worse as Blake Corum led the Rams offense in terms of rushing yards with 28. Kyren Williams, I know he got the touchdown for the Rams, but that was when they were just down big. I think they were down 31. They were down 34-3 at that point, and Kyren Williams pretty much got that touchdown in garbage time, or pretty much when the Rams were dead in the water, because the Rams ain't yet coming back from a 31-point deficit without two of their best wide receivers. So, yeah, the Rams are 0-2 to start the season, and this is very concerning. You are what your record shows. And I feel like I get it. No Puka Nacua, no most offensive line, no Darius Williams, no Cooper Kupp now. But the Rams are what their record shows, and they straight up stink. And I really hate to say that, but the Rams are certainly not one of the better 0-2 teams in the league, especially since they're just getting bitten by that injury bug. So this is just straight up concerning, and I really hope for the Rams' sake they're able to make it at least somewhat competitive against the Niners. So they have their first home game of the season against the San Francisco 49ers. My big thing is, are the Rams in trouble if they start 0-3? I think they are, because not a lot of teams start 0-3 and then make the playoffs, except for that Texans team, which wound up reeling off 9 wins in a row following an 0-3 start. But that was when they were really talented. But I digress. But yeah, if they start 0-3, it's going to be tough sledding. I don't know where that first win would come, because they have the Bears the following week, which that's going to be a tricky matchup on the road. And then they have the Packers the following week. So I wouldn't say they shouldn't have too much trouble with the Bears, but the way that this offense is playing, I'm just so scared for what's to come for the Rams. This is just absolutely bad, dude. I'm sorry, but the Rams are just straight up terrible. Now, the good thing is for the Rams is that the Niners are also battling key injuries. Deebo Samuel is most likely not going to play. George Kittle is questionable. Nick Bosa might be questionable. So the Rams' injuries, as well as and also Christian McCaffrey's on IR. Can't forget about that. But my big thing is this is going to be an injury bowl right here. But the keys to being the 49ers is protecting Matthew Stafford, getting the run game going. They're going to have to roll with Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson is going to be their wide receiver 1. Go figure. Yeah. So this is really going to be tough sledding right here for the Rams. This is bad, dude. This is just so bad. And then you've also got Tutu Atwell as well, and then Tyler Johnson. That's in terms of the receiving core. So I'm hoping for the Rams' sake they're able to pull this one out. But again, if the Rams go 0-3, then this is going to be very bad. I don't know the last time the Rams went 0-3, but if they go 0-3, then they're in trouble going into Chicago. So The final score for this game, this one actually might be closer than expected, but the Niners have too many weapons on their team offensively. So I got to go Niners 24, Rams 17. I'm sorry to the Ramily, but the Rams have always been beaten by the Niners in the regular season. And I know we are not counting week 18 from last year. That was just played backups versus backups. And yes, I know it made the difference because the Rams were able to avoid a date with the Cowboys, though I think that could have been better, but I digress. But yeah, I just think the Rams are going to go 0-3 in this game. It's going to be a lot closer. Now the Rams should be thanking their lucky stars that George Kittle might not be playing, and there's obviously not going to be Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. So the Rams might have a chance. But honestly, the Niners have too much firepower offensively. I just don't see a scenario where the Rams win this one. They would have to utilize – Kyren Williams would have to go off, and the Niners defense is still strong. So I think the Rams narrowly lose this one. I'll give them this close of a loss, but I just feel that the Rams just are in over their heads when it comes to this. And I don't like that. I just feel the Rams are a much better team than this. It's just that they've gotten hit hard in terms of injury. So it is what it is, unfortunately. But I did like that the Rams did utilize Blake Corum. They should be using him more. It's like most fantasy owners, including myself, kind of got him for that reason. So, and he was such a stud at Michigan, and the fact that the Rams aren't utilizing him is absolutely disappointing. So for the Rams, I think they would need to win this game. I mean, it would be such a momentum booster going into Chicago and then coming back home against the Packers and then going into the bye. Because remember, the Rams' bye is super early. Okay, not as early as the Chargers, but their bye week is so early. So Rams have really got to play their hearts out. I will not mind eating crow if I'm wrong, but yeah, I got the Rams losing. I got to be realistic. I can't just beat around the bush and say, oh, the Rams might win, even though they don't have Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua or most of their O-line or Darius Williams at corner. No, I got to be realistic. But it is what it is, and yeah. So that's pretty much going to do it for the NFL portion of the show. We're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk some college football, and then we'll talk some MLS and MLB, and then we got our Dum Dum of the Week. So keep it locked here. You're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IA Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey, Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen D, host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph DeLeese, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Yins Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports, and I will update you on all that's black and gold and have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Calise, the Yins Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
And welcome back to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as the Show of the Land with Jen B, as well as the Yins Report with Ralph Calise. As I mentioned earlier in the show, the Chargers, my team, they play the Steelers. I love you, Ralph, but I'm hoping my Bolts go to 3-0. At least with Mike Tomlin, you're pretty much guaranteed a 500 record. So the Chargers, on the other hand, nothing is guaranteed with them. So nothing against you, Ralph. I love you, but only one team can go 3-0. And no, I pray to God both teams don't tie. That would be ugly. Some are even predicting that it's going to be a 0-0 tie. If that's the case, then that may be labeled as the worst game ever. Maybe even worse than the Tsunami Bowl with the Dolphins and the Steelers. But I digress. All right, segment number 2 coming up as we got to talk some college football. So we're going to try to skim through this early. Now, this time for real, USC plays this week. But we have to go over some of the other teams that played last week from Southern California, such as the UCLA Bruins, as those gutty little Bruins got hammered in their Big Ten opener by Indiana, 42-13. Now, I was extremely generous for my final score. I think I only had UCLA losing by 2 scores, but this was just straight up sickening right there. UCLA got embarrassed, and it wasn't just embarrassed on their home field at the Rose Bowl. They got embarrassed on national TV. They made this Curtis Rourke guy look like Tom Brady. I was just sick to my stomach. I just turned off the TV after Indiana just went up 35-13. It's like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. Absolutely bad. Blech. Talk about baptism by fire, because that was UCLA's Big Ten opener. I get it. UCLA doesn't have the dogs that they did in the past, but dude, on your home field, this is what you put up? It's any wonder that one of my friends who's a UCLA fan and who used to play UCLA football straight up told me that he doesn't have UCLA bowling this year. So, yikes. That's just bad. I'm sorry, but that was bad. Nothing against Ethan Garbers. I love the kid. I covered him, and I filmed with him back when he post-graduation. But the dude didn't look all that great, unfortunately. Again, it doesn't help that the UCLA defense made Curtis Rourke look like a Heisman candidate. So, and it also didn't help that UCLA's leading receiver was the freaking running back, TJ Harden, with 41 receiving yards. This was just straight up disgusting. I felt bad for Garbers. It's like, who's going to catch the freaking ball for him? The running back? Like, UCLA doesn't have that bad of a receiving core, do they? Do they? I'm sorry. I feel a little bad for UCLA, but honestly, that was just disgusting. That's just disappointing right there. And the fact that their offense just could not get anything going until like this late in the second quarter is just so bad. It's bad, dude. So my big concern for UCLA is, when is their next win coming? Like, UCLA, I basically said this on last week's show. If UCLA doesn't get this win, when will their next win come? This week, they are at LSU. Yes, remember when USC played LSU? That was at a neutral site. That was at Allegiant Stadium. This week, on the other hand, it's going to be in Baton Rouge. And LSU, obviously, they've been a little inconsistent. Thanks, USC. When USC beat them in the beginning. But LSU just eked out a win over the other USC, South Carolina. But this one's going to be so tough. I mean, nothing against UCLA, but I just don't see UCLA beating LSU. And looking at the schedule for UCLA, I mentioned, when's the next win coming? I don't think it's going to come this week. It's certainly not going to come next week when they play Oregon, even though Oregon's been inconsistent. They're at Penn State the following week, so is it going to come against Minnesota or Rutgers? I don't think it'll come against Nebraska because Nebraska is too physical, and Nebraska is such a tough place to play at Memorial Stadium. Will it come against Iowa, which that defense is pretty strong too, but their offense leaves a lot to be desired. Will it come against Washington, which just recently lost to freaking Washington State? Or will it somehow come against Fresno State? It certainly is not coming against USC. Let's get that out of the way. I don't think at this point of this show, maybe things will change. I just don't see UCLA beating I don't see UCLA beating USC. I just don't, because that's embarrassing to lose. But maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe UCLA has some guys out, but losing on your home field by 29, or I'm sorry, 29, that is disappointing. I'm sorry, but it just is. But UCLA's defense is young. I get it. They faced a very talented Indiana team, but it's just, I can't do it. I can't do that with this UCLA team. And Larry B pops into the chat room and says, your direct feed for all that is SoCal. Yes, sir. And Larry says, no tie, please. Don't worry, Larry. I promise you there will not be a tie. Otherwise, I will cry. Otherwise, the world is ending. And Larry B says, fight on. Yes, fight on. But if I had to give I'll give my prediction score later for UCLA. But, oh, God, that was just so awful. It was just so bad for UCLA. Like, UCLA has the most pedestrian offense out there when they're straight up when they're making their opponents look good and they're making their opponents' quarterbacks look like freaking Heisman candidates. Like, I'm sorry, just 4 touchdowns and over 300 passing yards for this Curtis Rourke guy. I didn't even know what a Curtis Rourke was until that game. I'm like, why does this guy look so good? They're making him look like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning. Like, get out of here, UCLA. And thanks, NBC, for televising this and basically just embarrassing UCLA to a full extent. But that's going to do it for UCLA. I'm done talking with them until my predictions. But San Diego State kind of did a lot worse. Okay, a lot worse wasn't bad because at least San Diego State was in it in their game. They were only down 7-3 at halftime. But you know the rule of thumb when it comes to San Diego State. They have no assembly of an offense. No assembly of an offense, especially against FBS teams. They lost 31-10 against Cal, but hey, they actually had a touchdown. Woohoo! It doesn't matter. They made Cal freaking look like Clemson back when they had Trevor Lawrence. This is just straight up sickening. Again, first half, it was decent because when you face San Diego State, you're going to get a defensive battle. But Cal woke up in the second half and just outscored them 24-7. And I imagine the second touchdown was in garbage time, which does not mean anything. Yeah, at that point, San Diego State was down 24-3, and then they got the touchdown to go to only be down by 2 scores, and then so on and so forth. It also doesn't help that they turned the ball over twice, which, man, why do you do this to me, San Diego State? Like, is San Diego State just that bad offensively? This is why we miss having USC. USC, please do me a favor and not have a bye, because these other SoCal teams, other than Cal Poly and San Diego, they can't carry SoCal in college football. Oh, goodness me. San Diego State wound up losing 31-10, and they got blitzed in the second half. Thankfully, they're on bye this week, so we don't have to see inept offense. At least when the Steelers have inept offense, they actually win games. But San Diego State, disgusting. So on the FCS side, I mentioned the FCS. San Diego and Cal Poly wound up winning their games. San Diego took down Central Washington 26-7, while Cal Poly handled Eastern Oregon 31-34. So good for both of them. Cal Poly got their first win of the season, while San Diego moved to 2-0 on the season, which is good. So this time for real, the true kings of SoCal for the time being in college football will be taking the field. So USC for real this time plays Michigan at the Big House in its Big Ten debut. So look, I really, really think USC has a good shot at this. The way that USC played, I get it, Utah State's not that good, but against LSU, I think we're in for another Miller Moss masterclass. I think USC can really win this game because here's the thing about USC. Their only true tough games on their schedule is, well, in terms of the Big Ten, their only true tough games are Michigan and Penn State. Other than that, and maybe Nebraska, but they don't get to play Nebraska at Memorial Stadium. Nebraska will be coming to Southern California. But if UCLA plays its card, or if USC plays its cards right, they actually could find themselves in the Big Ten championship. I get it. It might be a Mickey Mouse Big Ten schedule, but I don't care. Like USC, considering that some people had them finishing 6th, Cleveland.com, I think that proving the entire world that USC is here would be so amazing. And I really want Miller Moss to have a masterclass performance. It certainly won't be easy just because it's so tough to win at the Big House unless you're Texas. But it's going to be such an uphill climb for USC. But I think they can do it. The defense is going to really be tested this week. They're not going to play Utah State anymore. They will no longer play a team like Utah State. That's for sure. So some quick college football predictions. So I got USC beating Michigan 34-24. I think for USC, their offense continues to be on a tear. I think the defense will show up just enough against Michigan. Michigan lost quite a bit from last year's team, like Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers, Jesse Minter to the Chargers, and pretty much everyone to the NFL draft and whatnot. So give me USC winning over Michigan 34-24. Will it be a little bit more high scoring than most people expect? Yes, but I definitely expect USC to come out with the win. So please, 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 USC. I'm really banking on USC because, again, if they win this game, they can move a step closer to possibly being in the Big Ten championship game. Now, it's way early to say that because they've obviously got other teams to face, like UCLA, Washington, Nebraska. I think they face Iowa, but either way, it would be so great for USC to just stick it to the entirety of the Big Ten, saying, "Hey, remember when you thought you weren't going to amount to much? Too bad, so sad." That's got to be the game of the week right there, USC versus Michigan, because I look at USC's schedule. It's a little favorable, if you ask me, because after this week, they've got Wisconsin at home, and then following that, they're at Minnesota, and then after that, they're home against Penn State, because remember the last time those two teams faced, USC wound up winning a thriller with the one, the only Sam Darnold. Then they're at Maryland, they're home against Rutgers, that should be a win. Washington, that should be a win. Nebraska, even though they're big in the trenches and they're physical, that could be a win. And then UCLA, that's most likely a win with how UCLA is playing. And then they close off the regular season against Notre Dame, which could be a trap game, but, well, not a trap game, but could be a little bit of a break or make game. But honestly, I like USC's schedule if they beat Michigan. Because Penn State, let's be honest, Penn State is the most, I wouldn't say they're bad, but they're so mid. They're crap against really good competition, but they're strong against competition below them. And I did see a YouTube video on Penn State football saying why Penn State is the most mid-tier team ever. They're not good enough to compete for a national championship, but they're too good to not be under 500, or they're basically good enough to be in a bowl game. So I don't know. I just think that But back to USC, I do like the schedule going forward. It looks very favorable if you ask me, but we'll see. And then after USC, I got UCLA beating LSU 38-21. I was very generous when it came to UCLA last week. I don't think I'm going to be generous this time because LSU, I think they've kind of got their mojo back. Now, Garrett Nussmeier, I don't know what his status is, but the dude is basically living on the edge in terms of playing QB for LSU. But I think Nussmeier is going to outduel Ethan Garber, sadly, and I just think LSU pulls out this win. I will eat my crow if UCLA loses, but honestly, let's be honest. I thought UCLA was going to lose by 2 scores against Indiana. They wound up losing by, they lost by 4 scores. And then I got North Dakota beating San Diego 24-21. Look, San Diego is good, but now they have their first road game against North Dakota. Not North Dakota State, North Dakota. I just think those Dakota schools are just going to be too much. Those Dakota schools in the FCS are too strong. And I think San Diego going on the road is going to have a tough time with North Dakota. Again, I will eat my crow if I'm wrong, but I just think San Diego is not going to pull this one out. I just think they're going to lose in very narrow fashion. And then Cal Poly and San Diego State have a bye. At least Cal Poly goes into a bye on a win, unlike San Diego State. But yeah, those are basically my predictions. I got USC winning. Unfortunately for UCLA and San Diego, I don't have them winning. So I'm sorry to SoCal fans, but I just think USC is just that good. All right, but that is that for the college football portion of the show. So moving on to a little MLB. So this obviously needs to be discussed. Shohei Ohtani of the Dodgers made history as he became the first 50-50 player in MLB history to have 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases. I don't think we're ever going to have that in terms of another MLB player. Like, that's just incredible right there. And what's even better is that the Dodgers also clinched a spot in the playoffs after they beat the Miami Marlins. And I get it. Yes, people are going to say, well, Shohei Ohtani stat padded against the Marlins. I don't care. He got the 50 home runs. He got the 50 stolen bases, 51 for that matter, 51 and counting. The dude made history. You could say what you want about Shohei Ohtani, but dude, good on Shohei Ohtani. He finally broke free of the Angels, and he was able to shine with the Dodgers. So good for him. I'm happy for him, and I hope he's one of the keys to. He's basically he's for sure earning that money, but I hope he's one of the keys for the Dodgers to win the World Series. Like, please, Dodgers, with all that talent with Miyamoto and Ohtani and the talent that you currently had, I think that I would really like to see a World Series. So as I mentioned earlier, the Dodgers have clinched the NL West yet again. But for the love of all that is holy, can we see the Dodgers have a deeper playoff run? Please, 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 please. As the Dodgers are actually tied with the Philadelphia Phillies for the best record in the National League, which is cool and all. The Phillies do have a slight edge over those Doyers, as the Dodgers, unfortunately, don't have the tiebreaker over the Phillies, but it is what it is. But they start a 3-game series against the Colorado Rockies, which that could be a good little propeller for getting closer and closer to maybe clinching that top spot. Maybe. We'll see. Because they've got the Rockies, and then they've got the Padres on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then next Friday and Saturday and Sunday, they've got the Rockies in Colorado. So that seems like a favorable schedule. Speaking of those San Diego Padres, that's actually a perfect segue to go into those gutty little Padres right there. So the Padres, on the other hand, they are still in the midst of, well, they have to be in the wild card, because if not, then they won't be making the playoffs. But at the very least, they are getting closer and closer to making the playoffs. They have a 2-game lead on the top wild card spot in the National League. So looking at their remaining schedule, the Padres host the Chicago White Sox this Friday, or tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday. So if for some reason the Padres fumble the bag, I'm going to be sick to my stomach. Now, their last 6 games are going to be against true contenders. They've got, the Dodgers contenders. The Cardinals are still teetering toward possibly making it to the postseason. And the Cardinals, they know how big that final series is, and they know that they can't take a chance on anything. It's funny because the Cardinals, or not the Cardinals, the Diamondbacks. God dang it. The Diamondbacks know that this is a huge series for them, just because if they fumble the bag, then people aren't going to let them live this one down. And we already have one team that's pretty much on the verge of having a World Series hangover, and then the other team is could be the Cardinals, but I'd put money on the Cardinals making it. So, look, I think the Padres are for sure making it. I would be stunned if the Padres failed to make the postseason, because the Padres are still playing some good baseball, and I just hope for their sake they're able to cross the finish line, because now, remember how the old saying goes, the MLB season isn't a marathon, or a sprint, it's a marathon. Well, now we're getting to the last leg, and now they got to cross that finish line, because once they get into the postseason, it's a whole new season. Everyone's 0-0, and nobody cares on what you did in the regular season, at the very least. So, looking at the Padres in terms of the wild card, they are 2 games ahead of not only the Arizona Diamondbacks, but they're 2 games ahead of the New York Mets. So, if the season ended today, the Mets would be the second wild card representative, and then the Diamondbacks would be the third wild card representative, and then the Padres would be the first wild card representative. So, for the Padres, they just got to play consistent baseball. Again, they looked pretty solid against the Cubbies. I wouldn't call them world beaters. I mean, I would say it's not bad, but it's certainly not great. I mean, they're certainly doing better than the Angels, that's for sure. But honestly, they also look pretty good against those Houston Astros, taking 2 out of 3 against those fellas. So I think that for the Padres, they're able to. I think they can, if they get into the postseason, knock on wood, I think they're for sure going to be making some noise, because last year's team was finished 500. They finished 82-80. This year's team is shattering expectations and then some, because remember, they didn't have their full team. They didn't have Fernando Tatis Jr., who got injured and then got suspended to start the season. So Manny Machado has really revived his season. You have Luis Alvarez or Arraez just absolutely doing great things. Dylan Cease, remember he had the no-hitter against Washington. He has 220 strikeouts. Michael King, he's had himself a solid season for the Padres. So, again, it's all a matter of not if the Padres get into the playoffs. It's when and who they'll face come the wild card round. And then eventually, once they get past that, then they can hopefully see who they've got in the divisional round and then go on to the NLCS and see what happens. But here's to hoping that the Padres do not fumble the bag and whatnot. So we'll see. All right, but that is that for the Padres portion of the show. We're going to take ourselves one last commercial breaky break. When we come back, we've got some MLS to discuss, as we've got El Tráfico to recap. And then we also have the Dum Dum of the Week to give out. So keep it locked here. You're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, everybody? This is Teran Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we are back for the final segment of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as my other show, Set Point, which talks all things volleyball. And also check out Let's Whine About DMV Sports with Mike Pat. That will be going live in less than an hour, I think an hour or 2 hours. But either way, definitely check out all of our amazing shows. You won't be disappointed. We have every show from every region and mostly every sport, including volleyball. I just have to give that plug out of the way. So with that said, all that said and done, let's get on back into the MLS, back into the Southern California sports section. So there's not too much to be discussed other than the MLS. I've already gone past an hour, and I don't want to go longer. So in terms of the MLS, El Tráfico did not disappoint, as it was a barn burner. So that's going to be my one goal, to make an El Tráfico game, whether it's at StubHub Center or Dignity Health Sports Park or at BMO Stadium. Regardless, El Tráfico last weekend did not disappoint, as the Galaxy pulled off an amazing win over LAFC. LAFC actually took the lead at 2-0 going into halftime, as Matej Bugay scored in the 4th minute, and then Dennis Bouanga scored in the 15th minute. So LAFC was dominating the first half, and they were up 2-0 at halftime. But then in the 53rd minute, Dejan Hovlahich was able to score for the Galaxy, and then 14 minutes afterward, Edwin Carrillo scored. Actually, it was Hovlahich that scored in the 53rd minute, and then 2 minutes after, you had Edwin Cirillo. Then Hovlahich scored the tiebreaker in the 67th minute, and then Ricard Puig added an insurance goal. Barring LAFC was down a player, as Lewis O'Brien got a red card in the late, I wouldn't say in the late stages, but in the 79th minute. But LAFC basically fumbled this one. So how do you go up 2-0 and then allow 4 goals in the second half? How? LAFC, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Just straight up disgusting. But the Galaxy, with that win, they were able to clinch a playoff spot with that win. And it just goes to show that the Galaxy, with good management, could actually prove to be something special. Unlike Chris Klein, who was such a garbage general manager, I'm sorry to say, but he was so terrible, dude. It's actually great that the Galaxy have competency in terms of their front office. And thank you to Davidson Crooks for popping into the chat room. He says, hit that like button. I appreciate you for tuning in. Also subscribe to IE Sports Radio. You will not be disappointed. But yeah, the Galaxy are bound for the playoffs. So great work to the LA Galaxy. They are still ahead in the MLS stand, or in the Western Conference, which I think is still incredible. They are 5 points ahead of Real Salt Lake. So with LAFC losing, they did not gain any points, and Real Salt Lake was able to garner enough points to surpass LAFC. So LAFC is now in 3rd place in the Western Conference standings, which, bummer. Now, unfortunately for the Galaxy, they did have a great match again in El Tráfico, but they kind of had the El Tráfico hangover, as they wound up losing to the Portland Timbers 4-2 this past week. So, yeah, that was a bit of a letdown right there. So it's disappointing because this was a Wednesday game. I get it, and you obviously can't get too high, but you also can't get too low. And this did take place in Portland, Oregon. So there you have it right there. And it also does not help that the Galaxy got off to such another sluggish start. They were down 2-0 in the first half. But unlike the El Tráfico match, the Galaxy actually scored late in stoppage time in the first half, courtesy of Gabriel Peck. And suddenly, the Galaxy were only down 2-1. But unfortunately for the Galaxy, they allowed another goal from Evander. Yes, his name is Evander. And then the Galaxy got closer 7 minutes after that goal as Joseph Payne still scored to make it 3-2. But the Timbers added an insurance goal as Felipe Mora scored in the 80th minute to pretty much put the game on ice. So the sad thing is that the Galaxy actually dominated possession. They had 60%, a little more than 60% of possession between they and the Timbers. So it is what it is. It just goes to show that the El Tráfico hangover is for real. Like, I don't care what anyone says. El Tráfico hangover is for real. So tomorrow, the Galaxy host the Vancouver Whitecaps. So you have that right there. Now, as for LAFC, okay, well, they kind of had a El Tráfico hangover, but it wasn't as nasty as the Galaxy's El Tráfico hangover. So after their matchup in El Tráfico, they took on Austin FC. They hosted Austin FC at BMO Stadium, where they actually played them to a 1-1 tie. So late in the first half in stoppage time, Austin FC's Hader Rafael O'Brien scored for Austin FC to put them up 1-0. But thankfully, David Martinez was able to score in the 62nd minute in the second half to give LAFC at least 1 point. So good for LAFC for getting at least 1 point, because, God, that would have been so nightmarish if they were behind, 2 points to Real Salt Lake. But again, the sad thing is that LAFC dominated possession. They had 61% of possession, and they had they tripled their shots on the opponent's shots on goal. And unfortunately, they just could not pull out the win. And these are games like this that could come back to haunt you. That match could have actually been the difference maker between possibly getting the 2 seed and maybe getting the 3 seed. So looking at their schedule, tomorrow they are hitting the road to the DFW to take on FC Dallas. So we'll see what happens when it comes to that matchup. I'm hoping LAFC can get off the mat. They have not won a match since they took down the Seattle Sounders in the U.S. Open Cup. So yeah, it's been a minute since they've won a match in terms of the MLS, as their last win came against their last win in the MLS came against the Seattle Sounders, believe it or not. But that was a while ago. They have beaten teams, but those were in U.S. Open Cup games or in midseason tournament games, or midseason tournament matches. So, yeah, LAFC's got some work to do. They got to kick off the rust. But then again, it could be because they've played so many midseason tournaments and whatnot. So, it is what it is. And hopefully, for LAFC's sake, they're able to right the ship, because they need all the momentum they can get. If the playoffs started today, they would be playing Vancouver, which Vancouver is kind of that up and down team. I mean, maybe that would be good because the Houston Dynamo kind of got the better of them this season, at least one time. The other time there was a tie. So we'll see what happens when it comes to LAFC. But I'm a little disappointed in LAFC. They let that big comeback happen against the Galaxy. Again, it was at Dignity Health Sports Park, but honestly, still no excuse. All right, but that is that for the MLS portion of the show. We are 10 minutes over an hour, so let's get Dum Dum of the Week out of the way, just because reasons and whatnot. And, yeah, let's go back to Royal Blue, because that's one of my favorite colors. So, Dum Dum of the Week. So, I actually have multiple Dum Dums of the Week. Nobody is safe from this award. Even I can get this. As thank you to NXTL68 for popping in. I really do appreciate you. Thank you for popping into the live chat room. It means a lot. All right, but as for Dum Dum of the Week, I have 3 to give out. So let's start off with the least worst of the bunch. So there are some food combinations that should be combined, but there are some that should never, ever be combined. Now, for me, I am a big cookie guy. I love me some Oreos, but this type of Oreo that I tried, it was straight up disgusting. I just gotta say, shame on you, Oreo. Coca-Cola Oreos are straight up sickening. It's like, ew. Coca-Cola and cookies, let alone Oreos, should not be combined. I know maybe it's because I have different taste buds from having different kinds of Oreos, like peanut butter and chocolate and mega stuff. But oh my god, Coca-Cola Oreos, that's not really the best. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I know it's a superstition thing just because Oreo has come out with a lot of like superstitious Oreos, kind of like Pop-Tarts, but I don't know. Maybe there is someone that loves Coca-Cola Oreos and they're basically saying, dude, you're wrong. You have no taste buds. But there's also Coca-Cola in terms of a drink that is Oreo flavored. Stop with this disgusting garbage. Please. There are things that can be combined and can't be combined. Coca-Cola and Oreo are one of them. Please, for the love of God, do not combine soda and Oreo again. I will not buy it. It just doesn't suit well with me and my taste buds. And that is final. I'm sorry to Coca-Cola and Oreo, but you dropped the ball on this one. Never combine this stuff again. You are Dum Dum of the Week #1. This might be as worse as Sour Patch Kids with Oreos. And that is straight up absolutely... That's what I got to say to Oreo and Coca-Cola mixing their things together, having a Coca-Cola Oreo soda as well as Coca-Cola Oreo cookies. So you're Dum Dum of the Week #1. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people actually like this stuff, but it doesn't suit my taste buds. I'm sorry, but it just does not suit me. Now, Dum Dum of the Week #2. This kind of goes to back when I was talking about the Chargers. So they're not getting Dum Dum of the Week, but the team that they played this past Sunday straight up is. Shame on you, Carolina Panthers. You have ruined Bryce Young. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why does that matter? He's not from he didn't play for USC, but he did play for Mater Dei, and he's a SoCal product. This dude, I love this dude coming out of Mater Dei, and he actually committed to USC, believe it or not, and then he flipped his commitment to Alabama because probably he wanted to face off against DJ Uiagalelei, who committed to Clemson at the time. But dude, Bryce Young has been put in a situation where he cannot succeed in Carolina. Absolutely sickening, and I feel so horrible. Free Bryce Young from Carolina. And David Tepper, this is on you. You are giving Jerry Jones and Dean Spanos a run for worst owner in the NFL. Granted, Dean Spanos is starting to turn the corner with the Chargers, and Jerry Boy has built dynasties with the Cowboys, and he's won Super Bowls. But you have ruined the Carolina Panthers. I'm not even a Panthers fan, and you have single-handedly ruined that organization. Shame on you, David Tepper. Shame on the entire Carolina Panthers organization. Even Adam Thielen is frustrated. Send that man back to Minnesota. Absolutely disappointed at the Carolina Panthers. And this falls on the owner, David Tepper. So, David Tepper, you are Dum Dum of the Week #2. Just please sell the team. You straight up suck. Heck, he probably doesn't even deserve the womp, 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 womp. And then lastly, for Dum Dum of the Week, I gotta give it to the Angels again. Shame on you, Angels. Look, it only took, I'm not gonna knock Shohei Ohtani, but it only took Shohei Ohtani leaving the Angels to finally break out of his shell and show his true potential, at least as a hitter. I don't know what she's shown his potential as a hitter, but man, you dropped the ball with Shohei Ohtani. And not just Shohei Ohtani, you dropped the ball with Mike Trout. I know the Angels have been a regular on Dumb of the Week, but seriously, Artie Moreno, sell this gosh dang team. You are absolutely, you may be the worst owner in the MLB. And that's saying a lot right there. I know you brought home the World Series back in 2002, but this isn't 2022. We are 2 decades past that. And what have the Angels done? Nothing. They haven't even sniffed the playoffs. And they had 2 generational talents with not just Mike Trout, but with Shohei Ohtani. And they had Anthony Rendon. They basically have been throwing money around, and they've done nothing with it. Nothing. Artie Moreno and Angels, I'm so disappointed in you. You are Dumb of the Week number 3. I'm glad Shohei Ohtani left for the Dodgers. I know everyone and their moms is not happy, but honestly, Shohei Ohtani did not deserve to be with the Angels. He did not deserve to be trapped in that death trap that is the Angels. So to the Angels that was holding back Shohei Ohtani, you are Dumb of the Week number 3. And that, my friends, is all she wrote. It never gets easier when it comes to doing these types of things. But what can you do? All right, but that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I greatly do appreciate you. Shout out to the chat room, NXTL68, Davidson Crooks, Larry B, Ralph Calise, Massachusetts Mike, Bishop, aka Crypto Runner, Marcus, Los Great. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself an amazing weekend. It's cooled down in Southern California, so just don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything that'll make you, get yourself on Dumb of the Week. And just enjoy the weekend. Fall is vastly approaching. Yes, I can't believe I'm saying that. Fall is approaching. Officially, fall will be approaching. Officially, ladies and gentlemen. But if you're going to be in the Long Beach State area, I will see you all tomorrow at Long Beach State for Long Beach State Pepperdine. And I'll also see you all on Monday for Set Point. Have a great weekend, everybody. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace. Go Trojans, fight on.